Okay, so for my action research project, I set a goal to have a one-on-one interaction with at least one student every school day for 6 weeks. I wanted to see how purposefully reaching out would impact my classroom environment, my teaching practice, and the attitudes of my students. I truly value relationships and see them as something that is important to foster and maintain. Relationships have always been important to me. For me, building connections wasn't a have to or even a want to, but a love to activity for me. So, finding ways to connect with my students was enjoyable for me. My first week of putting this project into practice coincided with the last week of the term. We all know how hectic the end of a term can be. I enjoyed talking with the students, but I was surprised at how easy it was to forget the details if I didn't write them down immediately. I knew I needed to find a good rhythm and make this a daily habit. Tracking is difficult, but it's incredibly valuable. Taking the time to record these interactions helped me to keep things straight. It allowed me to intentionally reach out to new students instead of just talking to the same outgoing kids day after day. Without those notes, it would be easy to miss certain students because some kids are so good at slipping under the radar. By week 2, I discovered it was hard to anticipate the best times to talk. Some days it was easiest before class started, other days the end of class worked better, or I could find opportunities during independent work time. Every single day presented a completely different rhythm that I had to adapt to. I realized I couldn't just rely on connecting with the students who came early or lingered after class or the students who were outgoing and easy to talk to. If I only talked to those types of students, I'd miss out on building relationships with a good number of my students. The students who are shy, quiet, or even difficult require more effort to connect with, but those connections are equally important and valuable. Reaching everyone requires being intentional, flexible, and opportunistic. You really have to recognize and seize the moment when the opportunity arises. It forced me to be proactive. I had to seek out and recognize moments for connection throughout the day. I learned that some students open up to you more easily than others. Some students give very short responses to my questions, while others easily engage in conversation. It really depends on their individual personalities and comfort levels. I learned to respect their boundaries. Some students don't want to talk, and that needs to be respected. You really can't force a connection. However, I found that with repeated exchanges, interactions with more reserved students became much more open and natural. I could sense genuine appreciation even from the quiet kids when I took the time to check in. The slow, steady progress with them was incredibly rewarding to recognize and see firsthand. One thing I learned through my research is that students can tell whether you are sincere or not. They can sense your motivations. They know if you are interacting with them out of a sense of duty or if you are doing it because you genuinely care about them and want to understand them. My motives were genuine, and I really think that my students could tell. Even though some days were harder than others, I was able to keep my goal of reaching out to at least one student every single day, no matter what. Of course, many days I connected with more than just one student, and I also had repeated interactions with a number of students. Those ones I didn't record specifically for this action research project. I truly believe these daily interactions made a difference in how I view my students and in how they view me. It allowed me to look past the crowd and get to know them as individuals, increasing their trust in me. I learned many interesting things about these different students. It was so fun to learn more about their interests and talents. Because of my efforts, there were organic, authentic, and unintentional moments that occurred with my students as well. Sometimes it was as simple as meeting each other's eyes across the room, maintaining eye contact, and sharing a brief moment of mutual understanding during a lesson. Those unspoken moments were just as powerful to me as our spoken conversations. And one thing I learned from my research is that the teacher's needs should not be overlooked. It is not only about the students and their needs. I learned that one of my needs as a teacher is a good night's sleep. When I got the sleep I needed, I was a more patient teacher and I had the mental and emotional reserves to be a good teacher the next day and to build relationships. A major highlight of this experience was realizing that these can be reciprocal interactions. I had a student that I asked about her spring break and if she had some fun plans. She answered and began to walk away. But then she turned back with a smile on her face and said, "What about you? Do you have any fun plans for spring break?" It was so great that she asked me. The research showed that better student-teacher relationships could also lead to students working harder in class. I saw this myself with a few of my students who put more effort than usual into our poetry portfolio project. I sensed that their effort was largely because of the relationship that I had built with them, that they were willing to commit to doing extra work. So, overall, the most difficult part of this project was keeping up with my tracking log because of how many things a teacher has to do in a day. Even so, it is absolutely not something I would ever recommend skipping. Tracking is the only way to ensure that every single student is eventually reached and that no one is overlooked. Attitude is one of the most important aspects of this research project. This is not a goal that would be successful if someone felt coerced or reluctant. Some days were stressful and hard, but because I love these kids, connecting with them was something that helped to brighten my day. If it becomes just another chore on a checklist, the students will definitely know. The pedagogical articles I read backed up the things that I put into practice, but it was amazing to see it firsthand. I experienced positive classroom management, saw students work hard, and felt that we achieved a highly successful classroom atmosphere and culture as a result. I was really happy with the positive classroom culture and environment that we created. This is an exercise that would be helpful no matter the teacher, no matter the subject, and no matter the age of the students. The benefits are invaluable, and it is simply a practice that I would highly recommend to any educator. Taking the time to connect is simply the best investment a teacher can make. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.